Hello, I'm Scott Clover, and you're listening to the Intuitive Energy Podcast. This podcast series is about intuition, healing, and creating new energetic patterns that benefit you in your daily life. In my private practice, I help people heal from a diverse range of issues, including self-acceptance, trauma release, managing anxiety, emboldening self-worth, and creative expression. In today's episode, we talk about feeling disconnected and how it goes against our natural instincts, how connecting to nature can be harmonizing, the importance of your first chakra, and how to strengthen your base energies using imagination. Enjoy!
Carl Munson talking once again to Scott Clover, intuitive energy healer, and this is season 2, episode 2. Great to talk to you last time, Scott, and I think we should really talk about the times we're living in and how ungrounded people seem to be. I hear this from a lot of people. What can we do about that?
Yeah, so as we talked about in the first episode also, earth, fire, and water, we're going to talk a little bit today about the grounding and the fire part. Feeling disconnected. We're feeling disconnected from our societies, from the people that we used to know. Zoom calls don't connect us the way that real interpersonal communications and festivals and things like that humans have been conditioned to for eons and eons.
Yeah.
And so people are really starting to feel disconnected. And that disconnection happens internally just as much as it's happening externally. So today, I think it's best we talk about ways that you can go inside, ground yourself, ground who you are. It's a great time for self-acceptance because you're spending a lot of time with yourself.
Yeah.
So people may realize what they like about themselves and what they really don't like about themselves, or conditioned patterns that keep coming up with the same people they keep interacting with.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I've said throughout this pandemic is if you live by yourself, then you're annoyed. And if you live with people, well, you're annoyed. So
sorry to laugh, but it's true, isn't it? It's funny because it's true. This is what we're finding at the moment.
Yeah, you've been looking into the same 4 or 6 or 8 pairs of eyes for almost a year now. It's a nice time for people to reassemble, reassociate with themselves. Grounding mechanisms, for example.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm noticing, people's empathy, people's intuitive skills, people's psychic waves that they're receiving and picking up are also getting more intense. We're just getting over a full moon that agitates people at times, me included. So there are definitely things we can talk about today and things that people can do to find themselves first and then go out and find other people that make you feel comfortable with who you are.
Okay.
So self-acceptance, the more that instills inside yourself, then the more you're able to go out and feel and be accepted, I would say, by others.
Yeah.
And there are ways to do that even today.
Okay, like such as?
Well, such as internet groups or Zoom calls. I know they're redundant for if you're working in that milieu, but there are a lot of classes being taught in the metaphysicals, in the New Age communities, the spiritual communities, different classes being taught with like-minded people. And that's what we're talking about today is tribe.
Yes.
Feeling like you fit in so you feel comfortable enough to express yourself.
Okay, finding those communities online because that's what we have to do at the moment. It's kind of like the only way.
Yeah, it's pretty much imperative. That's the way to do it. But go online and find a class that you like with the teacher that's teaching some item or some facet of your personality.
Yes.
If you're into Comic-Con stuff, then there's a cosplay group. Or if you're into, as I said, more of the metaphysical stuff, do a chakra study with a teacher you admire. But it's about finding other people in those groups and looking them in the eye and saying, oh, I'm like this too. Mm-hmm. The more we can look someone in the eye, even through the Zoom, and say, I'm similar to you, or knowing you exist makes me feel better.
Yes.
I've had several calls with clients recently of people saying, I feel and receive energy in a way that I've never felt comfortable talking about it before. And if you're not talking about it, then there are millions of other people not talking about it. Imagine just a fraction of those people find themselves in a community that they are freely or safely discussing their intuitive abilities. Yes. Then it no longer is in the shadows. It's no longer the tagline in a movie or the offshoot in a movie that says, oh, that energy or that came from a mystical force. not something based in a bunch of humans.
Yes.
And we don't have to be witches in the movies and levitate things with our minds to know that we're connected to something bigger, and that connection has communication. And a lot of us pick up on those communications. Whether we want to or not, we pick up on those communications.
This is going on all over the world now, isn't it?
Correct. It's happening more and more for more people, especially because you're looking at the same four walls you've looked at for a year.
Yes.
So your inner voice is getting louder because it wants to be paid attention to.
Yes, yes. And the pattern interruption is there as well, isn't it? The rail tracks or the tram lines that society used to run on have been, we've hit the buffers, haven't we? And like you say, we've been inside so long now, so many of us, that this possibility is very real.
Yeah, it's very real. It is happening in real time. As I said, I'm getting people from all walks of life, people I wouldn't consider to be interested in energy, finding me and saying, I can't deny this any longer. What I'm picking up and feeling, I want to share it, but I don't know how. I'm self-conscious and I don't know how to start a communication about this with my friends and family. And I'm part and parcel to that. I was one of those people that even times after my career started, a lot of my close friends didn't quite actually know what I was doing and why I was up to it, things like that. So the more I self-expressed myself, then the easier it got to just be who I am. So hopefully there's a myriad of other people and droves out there on a burgeoning path of self-accepting to saying, oh, this is part of who I am. It's an integral part of who I am.
Wonderful. So maybe time to capitalize on that, to be aware of it, to reach out and embrace it right now. You talked before earlier on, if I could take you back to becoming grounded. We've talked there, haven't we, about the kind of urges, what's coming up and how that might be expressed, and the great thing about finding your tribe, connecting with other people. But you also mentioned, I think, about grounding oneself, like the four walls you talk about, climbing up those four walls from time to time. How can we get back in our bodies and get a little bit more grounded? You mentioned the chakras. I think there's a connection there, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. What we're talking about today is the first chakra. First chakra's its focus is sex, food, shelter, survival, the instinctual things, the reptilian brain, if you will, of the chakra system. So when we're not feeling too secure in what and where we are in life, then the first chakra can be uprooted. If we're not making enough money or making too much money, then the first chakra can feel discombobulated. And imagine building an office building and the first floor is askew. You're hard pressed to have the ones above it not be askew. So the basic principle here is to associate yourself initially with the lowest part of your body, your perineum area of your torso. And then for me, I like to remind people that their energies goes considerably lower than just the base of their first chakra. So imagine if you were building a windmill that's 7 stories tall, how far down in the ground do you need to stabilize so that windmill doesn't move at all, so it can be its most efficient? Yes. So for a lot of people, I say, go to that first chakra and think of it as an elevator and then hit sub 3, sub 4. Yeah. Go down there and feel how you're rooted and grounded into your energy field. Because what's beneath you energetically is what supports you in your physical body, the auric fields around your physical body, the chakras you hold within your body. So one way is to not just ground or be rooted as tree roots or feel the center of the earth. Feel your own rooting. Do a mindscape or a schematic, an architectural diagram of how your energies could be more supporting downward. So you can tune into some of these frequencies that are upward.
Yes.
You don't put a large satellite dish on a shack.
That's good guidance. No, I get the metaphor then, and I was feeling it as you were doing it, and I suspect that's what you would say to people, right? You talk about a schematic, sketch it out, but to really feel it as well, right? To go through the process.
Correct. I say this often. Use your childhood imagination, where imagination and creation meet. Go back to that childhood imagination and create these in your mind. They are real when you think of them this way. When you observe your energy frequencies as grounded and rooted, then they become more grounded and rooted. Yes. So your imagination is integral into workings of the brain and the body functions. If you're aiming to change any part of those things and not just stay on a course of not discovering why self-acceptance is important to you.
Great call there. The basement levels, the foundations, the sense I got when you're talking about grounding and the root chakra, it's like the ground floor, isn't it? It's the ground floor where you go in off the street. You've talked about the foundations and how important it is to have an almighty foundation for a very tall structure. Can we go up in the elevator yet? Or do we, is there more to do on the ground floor?
Oh, yeah. Well, we're not going to go above the first floor today, for certain.
Okay.
No need to, frankly. It's a big endeavor to get this aligned to build on top of it. But yeah, it's also, as you said, the ground floor, it's the first impression. It's where the energy can come in and then be disseminated either correctly or maligned. If you tell somebody to take the wrong stairwell to go up higher, then they're going to get lost and waste their time and energy. So yeah, let's stick to the first chakra for today, or that tribal sense of fitting in. Another way to do that is to connect with nature, treetops to the bottom of the root system. So just imagine as deep as a tree's roots can go and as tall as a tree can get, then just focus on those energies for the time being. Don't focus on aliens or god and goddesses giving down spirit guides or anything above what's above the treetop. Just stay centered and present in what is nature and in our atmosphere. And just by concentrating on those, it gives your body and your energies a time off from trying to oversense, or some people to overground. I think of it as the safety of it is a third, and a third. Ground into the earth a third, stay centered from the treetops to the root system, a third of that, and then go up and play around in your upper chakras and those higher vibrational energies. But experiencing all three of those things is more grounding than just over experiencing one.
Yes. And it seems you put an emphasis there on, don't go too high too fast. Get this right, get this level right, get the foundations right. And we have had a massive societal, we've been unsettled in a huge way, haven't we? Which has caused us to bring attention to the root chakra, the things you talk about, which group you belong to, where we belong in the world. And is that why it's so important now that we, our very notions of what it means to belong to groups and society are being challenged, and our idea of survival, with the pandemic, has been utterly under the spotlight. Is that why it's so important now to regroup at this level?
It's important now, and then it's also important for what's going to happen when we come out of this.
Okay.
Because if we can figure out a way to bond together and associate with like-minded individuals, hopefully for the sake of bettering you and those around you, there are also groups that people feel first chakra tribal in that are very maligning and very ignorance creating more ignorance. That's sort of a splinter when your first chakra is desperate. Then you will align with people who feel more inclined to hurt, harm, and judge other people. So that's why this is important to do this now, because if you find more of a true sense of who you are and what you mean to the greater good or the larger, then hopefully the group you'll be associated with coming out of this will have a more benevolent intention, shall we say.
And now's your chance to work on that.
And now's your chance to work on that. I mean, what other better chance? How many times can you rewatch WandaVision or Bridgerton or old Friends episodes? Everyone's got 15, 20 minutes a couple times a week and I'm just not talking about meditation. Meditation is wonderful, and I'm not disparaging it in any way. But there's also a way to just feel connected. And that's a different vibrational mindset, and that's a different frequency that you're turning in or turning off from, to feel connected. And feeling connected is something we all have been lacking prior to any sort of lockdown or pandemic.
That's beautiful, Scott. I mean, the sense I get is we've been disconnected. This process, the pandemic process, has disconnected us, and we can reconfigure, regroup, reground, reconfigure, and decide where we want to connect in a way that we were never able to before. And as somebody who I know is interested in the bigger picture, who's aware of what's going on in the bigger picture. Would you say now, after all this time, we are not going back to normal? You know, that's the phrase that's being used. When can we go back to normal? Do you think the world has changed significantly and won't be stretching back to its old shape?
When you said that, I got a flash or a vision of people appreciating interactions more. I moved to New York City right after 9/11, and there was just an appreciation of community that New York hadn't felt in so long. And it was sad that a tragedy had to bring that about, but New York never lost that afterwards. And so these other things that New York has been through, for example, it keeps striving along. That would be sort of a personal example of mine. But we can come out of this different if, once again, it's self-inspection, self-introspection, and alignment with what your true sense of self is. And if that involves judging or maligning other people, go a little deeper and see what's causing that, because you're still too superficial in the level, I would say.
That's beautiful how you've put that. So don't judge yourself or give yourself a hard time. That's just a signal that you might not be going deep enough. It might just be a first reaction, an old emotional reaction. And
yeah, most of my clients that I work with that feel that acceptance issue, a lot of women feel this way just by societal pressure. Yeah. They give their self-binoculars or their spectacles away to other people to then judge them. So they give their judgment away to other people, and then they judge themselves through the eyes of someone judging them, and it becomes exponential. And that's a lot thicker, harder blanket to get out from under than just taking back the power of letting someone judge you first. If you judge yourself first, then make yourself the best person you know how to be eventually. It takes time. And then from that point, the judges kind of either fall to the wayside, or you just don't give anymore what people think.
What a lovely thing to look forward to.
It can happen. It can happen. The more you self-accept, the less power you give away for other people to judge you in that matter. They may still judge you, but that's on them at that point. And it becomes a little more like water off a duck's butt or Teflon for you. Beautiful.
So to summarize then, we're talking about this first chakra. Find your tribe. Be courageous, daring enough possibly to reach out. What else are you going to do? Like you say, after you've binged, watched this, that, and the other on Netflix, maybe make yourself the star of the show. Connect with the people, the vibes that you've been wanting to connect with for a really long time. Now's your chance to do that, and ground yourself, as you've given some really clear guidance on there. Can you give us a little bit of a taster of chakra 2, or what's coming in our next conversation?
Oh, desire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, desire is what's coming on the levels above. So what you desire, what you're allowed to desire, things like that is what we'll talk about in the upcoming episode. But I wanted to get back to this, like a personal example, and things that I work with in my work is people wanting to be more energetically connected, whether they're into tarot cards, or they're more of a medical intuitive, or they feel energy coming in and out of their hands, that they want to heal people. There are more and more of those people out there that are looking for someone like them. And there's a lot of people that just don't know how to bring it up to themselves. And once they bring it up to themselves, then they can bring it up to other people. That was one of the examples I've been seeing a lot of, is I feel and sense energy in my way. It may not be in the way that you do it or someone else does it, but it's my way, and it's overpowering sometimes. What do I do? And these are exercises we can talk about, as going down, rooting, feeling nature again. As I said, making it one of the trifecta of earth, nature, and then more esoteric energies. Yeah.
Beautiful. Now, sometimes you do elaborate on a process that you'd like people to try. Do you have anything for us in this episode?
Yeah, go down to your sub, hit sub 3, hit parking garage 3, and go down and take a look around and see, is it old and musty? Is it something you can make your own? Put in a carpet, put in an area rug and some furniture with a accent lamp and just move into one of those areas and see how you feel afterwards.
Yes.
It's a very grounding experience. And if you need help with that, that's what I do in my work. So I'm more than happy to help people understand their base chakras and what's below them so they can feel as grounded as they want.
I just wanted to mention when you say there about, is it a little musty and what do you find down there? What I love about your work is how playful it is. And there might be a temptation, mightn't there, for people to be shocked at what they find in their basement, metaphorically. And I know working with you, it's so playful. And would you encourage that? Would you encourage, like you said before, childhood imagination? Is that the spirit of it?
Definitely. Childhood imagination, metaphor. If we sense something together in a session, that makes it real. That's healing in community. That makes two people's energies combining to make a more powerful energy than the individual energies that make it up. So meaning if an individual is trying to heal themselves and they link to someone else trying to heal them, then those two make 2.5 or 3. Mm-hmm. It's more than just 1 and 1. And that's what happens when we're able to connect in session and somebody can use metaphor in their imagination and see and sense it for themselves while it's happening in real time that I see and sense it. That's where real healing happens.
Mm-hmm. All right. So how do people find you?
Sure. ScottClover.com is my website. I'm on Instagram, Scott Clover Energy Healer. Check out some of the other episodes. I think they're pretty good. And we'll be doing more of these. So looking forward to talking to you about the second chakra and all things desirous.
Wonderful. This has been Season 2, Episode 2. We'll be back with you soon.
You've been listening to the Intuitive Energy Podcast with me, Scott Clover. Thanks to Carl Munson for the great discussion and to Corey Tutt for the music you're listening to. In my private practice, I encourage people to heal what holds you back and feel better in your body. If you need more help with that process, I'm available for healing sessions by phone internationally. Visit scottclover.com for more information. Be well, and thanks for listening. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only, and solely as a self-help tool for your own use. I'm not providing medical, psychological, or nutrition therapy advice. You should not use this information to diagnose or treat any health problems or illnesses without consulting your own medical practitioner. Always seek the advice of your own medical practitioner and/or mental health provider about your specific health situation. For my full disclaimer, please go to scottclover.com/disclaimer.